Oh, hello. I was just reading Plato, Book 7 out of the Harvard Classics. It's a set of books that I've had in my home for many years. Plato is a young man who was very brave. He ventured out of a cave for the first time, even though everybody inside the cave was ridiculing him, making fun of him, telling him that he shouldn't do it, that there's no purpose in doing so. You know, it reminds me of what I get to do in ministry, and that's actually approach people with a lack of literacy. Literacy is a problem that's worldwide, but it's especially prevalent in some countries with 30, 40, even 50% of people not having access to any materials because they can't read. And what they are facing is not that they could even access these materials, but they're facing a lack of anything in existence. Imagine life, imagine your life, and this is what you're facing for your functioning in literacy. At Our Daily Bread Ministries, we're taking on the problem of literacy. There are 4 primary problems. First one is materials are non-existent in a lot of places around the world. Second one is if those materials are in existence, they're not low cost and people have no affordability to them. The third issue is that literacy is actually a long-term process. It takes 5 to 7 years for people to gain access to a language in literacy functioning. People just don't want to invest that time. Okay, and the fourth thing is, if we could fix all of those 3, could we have a methodology that's easily transferable to other people? In Our Daily Bread Ministries, we're approaching, and we're doing something to take on those 4 problems to solve the mystery of getting literacy around the world. In Luke chapter 4, Jesus himself was in Nazareth, and he went up, and he went into the synagogue, and he pulled out a scroll, and he read. And he read what was on the scroll, and then he rolled up the scroll and he said, today's word has been fulfilled. Imagine that functioning of literacy as non-existent in many places, in many ways. People don't just miss a day, they miss a lifetime of experiences. And we want to solve this. Even though there are many problems with the teaching of literacy, there are solutions to these problems. The first one is that there are materials that are not accessible to most, and if they are, they're not affordable. What if we could do something that was less than the price of one of these books? What if we could take a kit and we could actually make it so there are kits that are in small booklet form and they could be shared among people in a church or people in a school, and the total number of books that are 22 plus a Bible plus some other storybook material plus some Our Daily Bread devotionals could be supplied to people for less than $16 per person. That's replacing one book for the whole entire literacy kit. But that book can be shared, bringing it to an even lower cost. But does it work? Can we actually teach literacy in a timeline that is actually faster than a 5 to 7 year process? We're aiming for literacy that it can be taught in 1 year. How? Let me show you. It begins with symbols like this. You can see that there's a symbol for hand. You can see that there's a symbol for happy. You can see that there's a symbol for heart, for touch, for side, for Jesus. This is for clothes, a little bit abstract. And this is for happy heart, which means healthy. Now I just want you to see that if you can actually retain those words, and we've tested it and people can, if you can retain those words, there's certain things that you can do. Touch, side, Jesus, clothes, healthy. Sound familiar? Sound like a verse? We can teach the Bible in a number of days. We can teach them how to read through these symbols, and if you can get a vocabulary word, you can get a fragment, you can get a sentence, and once you get sentences, you're off to the races and you can start reading paragraphs. This is how our system builds, this is how it works, and what we're seeing is that students are progressing in less than the pace of 1 year, close to about 40 weeks time for them to gain access to functional literacy and reading Our Daily Bread devotionals. And most of the content that is here, besides these symbols, is biblical content. There are Daily Bread devotions modified, and there's also booklets that have Bible stories in it as well. Is this program transferable? We've been doing this in many countries in Africa. We're doing it in Kenya, we're doing it in Rwanda, we're doing it in Tanzania, we're doing it in Nigeria, and what we're seeing is that we can transfer this program in 1 day for a church, and so that means the church can actually facilitate this, and we're doing it for 2 days in a school. First day we train the teachers, second day we watch the teachers teach the students, so we see that it's transferable right in the school system. And it's working. They're the ones providing us with the research to show that this is 1 year or less. We're using this program in prisons, we're using this in seminaries, we're using this in churches, we're using this in schools, and individuals are picking it up as well. We're translating it into some other languages, but there's a lot more work to do. And with your support, your prayers, and your encouragement, we can see this as something that's literally going to change how people come out of the cave and they have access to God's Word where they didn't have any hope before.